I'm Becky, and in this video I'll be introducing you to the world of weaving damask and apempta on Swedish drawlooms. This video builds on the basic skills I presented in my first video, Dress Your Loom the Swedish Way. The different pieces of equipment I will be showing you can all be added to any Swedish style loom. The ease with which these systems function on these looms comes from centuries of experience by weavers and loom builders alike. I want to illustrate the differences between the various drawloom systems so that you can choose a system that is most appealing for yourself. The rich patterning that can be woven using Swedish drawlooms is vast and inspirational. I want to start by explaining the basic concept of threads in units. This piece of wool damask here is made up of units of 6 threads. For instance, if we look at this square here, it's 6 warp threads wide by 6 weft threads high. Now let's take a look at these 6 warp threads in a unit on a loom. This is one pattern unit of 6 warp threads, and each of these threads is threaded on a long heddle, and these 6 heddles are joined together by these weights or lingos. I have 3 weights together on here on this one pattern unit because these are heavy threads and there's a lot of them. There's 6 of them. And now we look to the front of the loom. These same warp threads are also going through, each through their own heddle up front. These are called the ground heddles, and they have large eyes. See how big the eye is on that heddle. So this thread is going through a shaft at the back of the loom. The next thread is going through a large eye heddle on the next shaft, and so in order, straight through these 6 shafts. 6 threads, 1 on each shaft in a ground heddle up here at the front of the loom. Now let's see what happens when I step on a treadle. Notice that we have one shaft that's raised, we have one shaft that's lowered, and we have the other 4 shafts staying in the center position. The shed can come through the large eyes on these ground heddles, and just this shaft that's being raised is raising one thread out of this unit of 6 threads. Now let's come back here, and we're going to raise one of these units. So now we have a unit in the low resting position, and we have one unit of 6 threads that's raised. And the pattern shed that's created here can come all the way through these long eye heddles to the front of the loom. And what happens when I step on a treadle now? We still have this action of the one shaft being raised, one shaft being lowered, and the 4 shafts in the center position. The one that's raised is raising one thread out of these 6 in the low pattern unit. The shaft that is lowered is lowering one thread out of this raised unit. And we can see this weft row will look like this. Here is the raised thread of the low unit and the lowered thread of the raised unit. And as I step on the next treadle, you can see that a different pair of shafts is being raised and lowered each time. And one cycle through all 6 treadles is going to give you a complete unit. Now let's look back here at the raised pattern unit. We're going to let this one down, and we're going to raise the other pattern unit. And so now when I step on my first treadle, this raised unit lowers 1 thread. And that's going to look like this. The weft is going to show here, and the warp is the white area. The warp is mostly up. And on this lower unit, we see mostly weft because only 1 warp thread is up. And so again, we treadle through all 6 treadles. And then we have another complete unit. Now I'm sitting at the front of the loom, and I can step on a treadle, and I'm going to weave a little sample for you to see what's exactly going on. Here's our first shot. You can see more weft on the right-hand side, and our warp unit is on the left-hand side. And I'm going to go through and put these little paper wefts in place on all 6 treadles. And now I'm going to go to the back of the loom, and I'm going to change which unit is raised. I'm going to lower the left unit, I'm going to raise the right unit, and go through my treadles again. And now we have more weft showing on the left-hand unit. And I can put this black paper around so you can clearly see the 2 units. 2 units in width, 2 units in height. And compare that with the draft that we looked at earlier. This piece here was woven on 20 pattern shafts as shown in this draft. For this demonstration, we're just using 2 units on 1 shaft, and on the draft they are these 2 here. And you can see how from the back of the loom, this square that represents 6 threads is split up onto the ground shafts at the front of the loom, onto these 6 shafts. And then the second unit is threaded onto these 6 shafts at the front of the loom as well. So these are the ground shafts, this is the ground threading, and these are the pattern shafts back here right now just on 1 bar. Let's review the action we've just seen by looking at this diagram. Here we have the 2 pattern units, 1 raised and 1 lowered. Here's a red warp. We can see the pattern shed coming all the way through the long eye heddles, going through the reed and tied on to the front of the loom. Here's the path of the red warp when a treadle gets stepped on. Here we have one of the ground shafts being lowered, and it's lowering a thread from the raised unit, and this raised shaft is raising 1 thread from the lowered unit. All the draw systems I will show you in this video use units of pattern threads like the ones in this demonstration. The only thing that differentiates the systems from each other is the manner in which these pattern units are raised and lowered.